A cold silence hit the room the moment the files dropped, because no one expected 23,000 pages of Epstein documents to land all at once, shattering months of political narratives and triggering a scramble so chaotic that even members of Congress didn't know what was true anymore. And when Comer stood up and said these were the files certain lawmakers never wanted the public to see, the temperature in the chamber changed instantly. People leaned forward. Staffers froze. And what came next wasn't just a hearing. It was a political detonation. For years, the country has heard rumors about hidden names, sealed documents, and investigations that seemed to stop right when things were getting close to answers.
From Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 4 minutes to the distinguished chair of the House Oversight Committee, Mr. Comer, the gentleman from Kentucky.
The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As chairman of the House Oversight Committee, I've always believed that sunshine is the best disinfectant. For years, the American people have demanded transparency about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's horrific crimes and about the federal government's failure to protect the victims. The House Oversight Committee is conducting a thorough review of the federal government's investigation into Epstein. Our work goes far beyond the legislation before us today. We are committed to accountability, transparency, and justice for the American people and for the survivors of these appalling crimes. To date, the Oversight Committee has released more than 65,000 pages of documents, issued 13 subpoenas, and conducted interviews with 2 key witnesses, both of whom were Republicans. The Trump administration has provided us with Department of Justice materials and access to suspicious activity reports. Unfortunately, throughout this investigation, Democrats have chosen to manufacture yet another anti-Trump hoax instead of pursuing justice. They have mischaracterized witness testimony and selectively released documents complete with targeted redactions in an effort to smear President Trump. For example, former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr, who oversaw the 2019 Epstein investigation, stated clearly under oath that the prosecution team found no evidence that President Trump committed wrongdoing. Despite this simple and straightforward fact, Ranking Member Robert Garcia, moments after that deposition, tiptoed out and publicly claimed that, quote, Barr could not clear Trump of wrongdoing. That was a lie, and we have the transcript to prove it. I invite the media to read the transcript. When the Oversight Committee interviewed former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, Alex Acosta, Democrats whipped themselves into a frenzy trying to manufacture a gotcha moment, but they failed. Mr. Acosta dismantled the Democrats' narrative. His testimony confirmed there was no contact between President Trump and Mr. Acosta and no connection between President Trump in the Epstein case. Next, Democrats resorted to selective leaks and doctored documents to mislead the American people. Oversight Committee Republicans have posted 65,000 pages of documents we have received to date. Democrats, by contrast, have released fewer than 1 dozen. In their latest selective leak, Democrats released just three of the 23,000 pages of documents from the Epstein estate. And they made redactions to 2 of those emails that changed both the context and the meaning of the 3 pages they released. When CNN called them out for their deceptive redactions, Representatives Stansbury and Crockett tried to blame Republicans for their own edits, for the Democrat Oversight Committee edits. After Democrats released only 3 emails, Republicans released over 23,000 pages. And what did Democrats say in response when we released every single document that we got? They claimed full transparency was meant to, quote, disorient or distract from their manufactured narrative. These are the same Democrats who chant, release the files every day until the files contradict the story they want to tell. That is the definition of hypocrisy. In contrast, full transparency exposed how Epstein appears to be TDS patient zero. The evals reveal a journalist coached Epstein to blackmail then presidential candidate Donald Trump.
The gentleman is recognized.
The files also show that a House Democrat colluded with Epstein during the 2019 oversight hearing to discredit witness with a vendetta against President Trump. And unsurprisingly, Democrats have been silent about their colleagues' coordination with Epstein. Another email shows Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries as part of their 2013 effort to win a majority. So Hakeem Jeffries' campaign solicited money from Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we found in the last document batch. The files underscore why former President Trump must appear for his deposition. We've subpoenaed him. To date, the Democrats have done nothing to help us secure his appearance. I support full transparency. The Oversight Committee will continue to work to get the truth to the American people and to get justice for the victims. That's our goal of this investigation. With that, I yield back.
But today, something snapped. The Oversight Committee finally pulled back the curtain, releasing tens of thousands of pages that had been sitting in government hands. And the moment those files hit daylight, everything spiraled into a showdown between two parties accusing each other of deception, redactions, and straight-up manipulation. But even that wasn't the most shocking part. Because buried inside those emails was a trail that no one expected, messages pointing toward private meetings, quiet outreach, and political coordination that raised more questions than answers. And as members began quietly flipping through the pages, confusion turned into panic. Some of those emails didn't fit the story certain leaders had been pushing for months, and that's exactly why the room started to shift. The chaos didn't start gradually, it hit instantly. The Oversight Committee had released more than 65,000 pages throughout the investigation, while Democrats had publicly released fewer than a dozen. That imbalance alone sparked whispers. But the moment the new batch came out, people noticed something strange. The earlier documents released by Democrats had redactions that seemed off. Not just black bars over sensitive names, but edits that reportedly changed the entire meaning of sentences. When news outlets began questioning why only 3 pages were released with such heavy edits, the confrontation ignited. Members started pointing fingers, accusing each other of hiding context, reshaping narratives, and filtering the public's view of the files. And once side-by-side comparisons surfaced, the tension snapped into open conflict. But that was only the surface level. Because when the unedited 23,000-page drop became public, a different picture emerged, one that none of the earlier narratives had prepared the country for. Emails showed unexpected connections, private outreach attempts, and communication chains involving high-profile individuals who had never been publicly associated with Epstein's orbit. Some messages showed organizers discussing private events. Others showed political strategists evaluating potential meetings. And in one particularly eyebrow-raising exchange, a journalist appeared to be coaching Epstein on how to approach a political target. No1 wanted to explain that inside the chamber. You could see members trying to stay composed while scrolling through screenshots. The emails forced everyone, regardless of party, to reassess what they thought they knew. And then Comer dropped the claim that froze the room. According to the documents, a member of Congress had allegedly coordinated with Epstein during a past oversight hearing to discredit a witness. The moment he said it, you could feel the air tighten. A few members lifted their heads. Others shifted uncomfortably, and the accused member avoided eye contact with every camera in sight. Comer didn't stop there. He pointed out something else buried in the files, something tied to a fundraising event from years earlier. According to the newly released documents, Epstein had been invited to a Democratic fundraiser, with notes suggesting he might meet privately with a rising party star. Online communities exploded instantly, with users asking why this detail had never been mentioned before, especially given how aggressively both parties claimed distance from the scandal. Still, this wasn't a one-sided argument. Multiple former officials testified under oath that investigations years ago found no evidence linking certain political figures to Epstein's activities. That testimony clashed sharply with what some lawmakers had been publicly suggesting. And when one of those officials left the deposition room, certain members walked straight to cameras and said something completely different from what was recorded. That contradiction set off its own firestorm. Why spin a story the moment the door closed? Who was trying to shape a narrative before the documents came out? And more importantly, why? As the hearing continued, It became clear none of this was simply about uncovering Epstein's crimes, something everyone agrees must come fully to light. This hearing revealed something deeper, a political war over who controlled the story. Every document drop, every strategically timed leak, every televised statement was part of a larger battle over perception. And for the first time, the public was finally seeing just how messy that battle had become. Because when you lay out the timeline, the leaks, the redactions, the conflicting testimony, the sudden release of tens of thousands of pages, it all paints a picture of two political machines desperate to protect their own images while claiming to fight for transparency. And caught in the middle, the victims. The very people this entire case should have been about from the beginning. Instead of clear answers, they've watched years of misdirection, political shouting matches, and attempts to weaponize a case that should have remained focused on justice. Even now, with new files in hand, the arguments are louder than the accountability. And that's exactly why this fight isn't slowing down. Because the final question remains, what else is in the files that hasn't been released? If 23,000 pages appeared today, how many more pages still haven't? What names haven't been read yet? What events haven't been connected? And who is working to keep those last pieces from reaching the public? No matter which side of the political aisle someone is on, one thing is becoming clearer by the day. Transparency has become the biggest threat in Washington. Because transparency doesn't choose political teams. It doesn't protect careers. It exposes everything. Every relationship, every decision, every hidden detail. And once the truth is out, no amount of spin can put it back. If you're following this story and want deeper breakdowns of every file drop, every hearing clash, and every shocking development behind the scenes, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. This investigation is nowhere near finished, and from what's inside these documents, the next chapter might be the most revealing yet.